Cameron. Can you hear me? Yeah, she had a, did she have to do something? Okay. And a clue about the mics. That one on? Yeah, I didn't, they didn't tell me anything about the mics. Yeah. With the pepper and oil.
Some housekeeping for members. We have responses from the Office of Broadband. Mr. Spade has emailed all of those members, and I have confirmation in my inbox that they are there. So questions from Broadband have been sent to all the members. The first item on our agenda is Marie Preziosa, the Executive Director of the West Virginia Water Development Authority. They are going to have a handout to the members. So as we transition up here, Ms. Preziosa will sit at the table here. We will take questions after her presentation. Ms. Preziosa, welcome to Martinsburg.
Thank you.
I am being told we're going to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
First of all, thank you for inviting me today. It's really an honor to be here and be able to present to you where we are with the funding that you have provided to us to the Economic Enhancement Grant Fund. We'll give you a report today of where we are. I think it's the good that you've done with putting this funding into this fund for the people of West Virginia. I think you'll find out is really a game changer for them. As you know, the Economic Enhancement Grant Fund was established, and the legislature and the governor put in the $427 million of the state's ARPA dollars and into this fund. And as of today, we have allocated it to projects in 50 counties, 74 sewer projects, 64 water projects, 49 economic development tourism projects for a total of 167 projects. But I think the real story is that of the $427 million that you put in, we have been able to leverage it to fund $1,860,307,102. And so, that was the approach we took. We asked the projects to get some local money, also to go after all the other state and federal funding that was available for water and sewer. And that was done. Now, our task is some of the projects, because they weren't able to meet the deadlines, we've had about 5 projects having to turn in their money back, which we then have reallocated it. So there were two restrictions on this money that came in. One is that the project had to be bid into construction by December 31st of this year. And the second, it has to be spent by December 31st of 2026. And particularly for water and sewer projects, it's not a short process. You have to go through the design, you have to get easements, right-of-ways. Yeah, there's a lot that goes through that. So it takes a while for that to happen. And, we've allocated the funds to 167 projects. And, a couple of projects were not able to meet our deadline. And that's something that I would hope that if you consider putting future money into this fund, that we could help those people who didn't quite make it, who might be able to get some money that doesn't have a timing restriction on it as this did. The next task that we have is to get all these projects bid out. And that is, so, we have 89 projects that are going to be being bid out August, September, and October. And that means that, and they will have to close by December 31st. So in July and August, we've had projects with total project construction about $137 million that had to be done. In September, about $205 million worth of projects. And a lot of those are at the end of September. And then in October, we're looking at about $421 million worth of projects that will be bid out. So our contractors should be happy. They're going to be busy. There are going to be a lot of people that, be hopefully working because of this. But we are determined to get these projects closed like we have to. And if not, we'll have to do some mathematical work of trying to fund it to take that funding and replace it with other funding, other state funding we have for infrastructure fund in particular, if we find a project can't make it. Our biggest fear, though, are bid overruns. And we have to, I'm worried about that. So far, we've been able to balance them out. We've had some small bid overruns and some small underruns. And so we're kind of on the positive side. But with the number of projects, when you have 19 water and 24 sewer projects being bid out in October, your chances of getting big overruns really increase. And we have to be able to find that funding. One of the things, as I told you, we've leveraged this money, which means we've used up almost all of our infrastructure fund money. And we've also taken a hit on, the SRF programs have, are using their money. And that's not a bad thing. That's what we want to do, right? We're going to get a lot of projects done, a lot of updates, and a lot of new customers served. With that, Mr. Chair, I will stop there, and maybe we can have some discussion there. It might be easier to.
Questions of Mr. Precioso? I'll play Mal White and bring the microphone to you. Well, I'll put this in front of somebody if you don't ask questions.
Delegate Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Precioso, for being here. So you hit on it quickly. I got a couple questions. You hit on quickly the number of projects far exceeds anything that you've seen before. You can obviously plead the fifth on this. One of the bills that passed this last year coming out of the Senate waived or accelerated the Public Service Commission Certificate of Need. Did you see that as a benefit in moving the amount of projects through the process? And have you heard of any issues?
It's been very positive. I do not believe we can get all these projects done if that legislation was not passed. And I think it has definitely, to the working group, to the accountants, the engineers, the lawyers that we work with, these projects have a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different players. It has definitely been a benefit, and we would not make the deadline if it was not done. I feel that way very strongly.
And I guess the second question I'll pick up with you. Talk about number of bid overruns. I know the Eastern Panhandle has seen limited number of contractors. But we've also seen bid underruns. We can reference something related to the infrastructure council money being spent down and DEP's money being spent all the way down, which is an accelerating amount anyway. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on some of the, because we're 2 months into the fiscal year and you've spent all the money for the next year?
Sure. So the money that comes into the infrastructure fund that we get, the 40 million we get every year from the excess lottery, in addition to loans that are, that fund somewhat revolves, it's grant and loan money. So loan money comes back, we invest the money, so our interest earnings, loan money that's not spent for other debt service, we put back into the system. There's a formula we have to go through with, we get some economic development, 80-20 between water and sewer and economic development. And then it goes down to what we can use for grant and loan. If legislation was not passed a couple of years ago that would allow us to transfer from loan funds to grant funds when we run out, we would be done. We would not be able to get these projects done for the rest of the year. And so we have drawn down on that money. The most I've been around 7 years now with the authority, and that's the lowest we've ever been. The most money we have drawn down, the lowest balance we have had. With the SRF programs that are managed by DEP, they get so much money each year. And so they're having to be very careful because they have to make sure that they have cash for the projects that go to construction. And so we're trying to, they're drawing down on their money too. And we're trying to make sure that in projects, if they're not going to have the immediate funds that they need, they may, they're not going to spend funds they're not going to get in the future, but they don't have them right now. We have to balance that out too. So right now, my biggest heartburn, what keeps me up in the morning is in the late night or early morning is, how we're going to balance all this out. But we have, when you're doing what we're doing, taking 427 and doing $1 billion, almost over $1.8 billion in projects, that's a lot of leverage.
And my last question was, this legislature's committed more money to infrastructure over the past couple of years than combined. Do you still see a need that is out there? Because I think everybody here has seen the need. That's why they committed the money. What does that future look like?
Oh, there's definitely a need. You know, if you take up all the systems that we have in the state that need upgrades, when you take, you know, people that we're trying to reach that are underserved or not served, you know, you're talking about billions of dollars out there of needs. And, you know, it's not something we can take care of overnight, but, you know, we went through the 427 pretty fast. And right now, there are projects that can't meet the deadline. So there are projects that are going to want to get done. We have in the areas where we have a lot of economic development that need to have upgraded sewer and water systems. We have a need in those areas of the state. You know, immediate need, we're going to have, you know, I don't know what the bid overruns. When you have as many projects that we have to announce bid, to calculate what the bid overrun, and see that the other issue too, we can't take care of the bid overruns, and those projects can't take enough out of them, which they usually can't take a whole lot. We're gonna lose those projects because you know, we're not gonna return any of the federal dollars back. So that means that, you know, we could have projects then that need to move over to come in from additional funding that we might have. And I'll touch on one other thing, you know, the critical needs, line extension money, you know, we've been doing a lot with that. We have a lot of critical needs that come up. So the needs we have, they're, you know, we could take every penny you can give to us. And sometimes people say, what do you need today? And I go, well, I can give you what we need today, but tomorrow it'll change.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Look at Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, so thank you for being here. Appreciate your presentation and your response to questions. You had mentioned the deadlines and some of the challenges that has made. Could you just expand on that a little bit more and offer, if you will, you know, in future legislation, what would you suggest legislature do differently?
Well, I think that the 427 billion that came in from the federal, for the ARPA dollars, it had the federal deadline. And what my understanding of that is that they want the money spent or they want it back. And they probably would like to have it back as much as they can get back. So when of that money that's in the pot right now, that 427 was in there, we have the 2 time deadline, in particular the time deadline. We also have other requirements in it. It has to be good, you know, certain things in it. Now, if you give us money from surplus revenues or special appropriation, you gave us state dollars into that fund, we wouldn't have this deadline. So it would be more flexible. But the money that came in from the federal ARPA dollars that came to the state, that the state put into that, the 427, it has the deadlines.
So if we did fund it out of surplus, would that jeopardize the receipt of those federal dollars?
The only thing that'll jeopardize I think the receipt of those federal dollars probably a one-time state influx to the state. No, if you put more money in it, it wouldn't. But we had to be very careful to make sure we use those dollars first, because we, you know, if a lot of these 89 projects that we're going to get done, some of them, if they could have said, oh, you know, we'd rather do it next year, then we wouldn't just, you know, we could have run into issues getting the 427 out. So our mandate right now is to make sure we spend all that 427, and that's the pressure right now. But in the future, you know, once we get past the December 31st deadline, getting them all out, getting another contract, getting all the grant agreements signed, then, you know, it won't jeopardize any future federal dollars, but and if we got state dollars, we're going to give it about that.
One additional question, and if you're not prepared to address this today, then perhaps you could address it to the committee. But I think most of us here in this room, the legislators, received emails regarding a project down in Anawalta. $1.7 million project, a water project down there. Are you familiar with that project or that other project?
A little bit, I remember there was a conversation about, you know, I can't remember all.
Okay, well, just, would appreciate,
just wonder whether
just understanding that project just a bit more so that, whether it's going to be addressed through some of these grants or if not, why it wasn't addressed. But again, certainly appreciate that, that goes into a level of detail that, perhaps you can respond to. Like,
But if I could say one thing about that, just in general, remember, projects have to come to us for funding. They have to ask us for funding. And if it's a water or sewer project, the system, whether it's a municipal system or a public service district system, if they have a project that they want done, and they go through all the steps that you have to go through to get our money, to getting the money, whether it be SRFs. On our website, we show there are several federal and state funding programs. So that project really has to come to us and say, we want your, can we get your money? Do we qualify for it? And we try to help people if they come to us to tell them where they might go and look for it. So sometimes I know when you get complaints about projects, it might be that they haven't really come to us yet to ask us and do all the steps they have to go through. But I just don't remember. I remember hearing about that project, but I don't think it's one that I just don't remember all the details. But I'd be more than happy to find out.
understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further questions on this side of the room? Senator Swope.
Not question, I can just add some perspective to the questions on the table. 2 years ago, the ITDC board updated a estimate of the needs statewide. And at that time, it was 11 billion of wastewater needs and 2.5 billion drinking water needs statewide. And that's before inflation, so you can probably add 2 to 3 million more to them. So the current funding is an order of magnitude higher than previous years. The previous year's 300 million or 400 million might get funded, but not a billion. We're responding to the needs better right now in the current environment that we ever had, thanks to growth of the state and growth of revenue. One of the issues, and Maria and I talked about this a little while ago, is a lot of the funding, you have to have the project developed or you can go get funding. If you don't have any money to go do the soft cost work, the engineering work, the condemnation of properties, all that kind of stuff, if you don't have front end money, it's really hard to develop the project to the state you can put it in queue to get funding. I think that's an area that's worth looking at.
Senator Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great, thanks for being here on Sunday. Beautiful Sunday, by the way. My question is, we have projects that you see are not going to hit those deadlines. Can that money be transferred to another project before you would have to send it back to the federal government?
Absolutely, that's what we're doing right now. So what I've done with there are about three, 5 projects. I can't remember. Early on, said we're not going to make that. We have to get too many easements, right of ways. That's a big problem. Easements, right of ways take a lot of time, and then people don't want to give an easement, you have to go for it, and then so forth. They've come and they said, so that money we've already taken and given it to other projects or have used it for bid openings. But those are projects we certainly like to do if we get, we get additional funding. We'd certainly like to go back and help those people out. And we're almost there, but just can't meet the deadline. We're not gonna lose any money. We're gonna try to get it all closed. So and I have a plan. If we get to the point where somebody can't make it because of this being way over and it doesn't work, I'm gonna take other state dollars that we have in projects from the infrastructure fund and feed that over. And I'm gonna wait on it.
So basically then you should have a plan available. We wouldn't have to send any of this money back to the federal government.
Yeah, that's our mandate. That's our goal. I hope, unless there's some unforeseen thing, I'm gonna make it work.
One final question. ways. You mentioned lights and lane, easements and things. Are you getting good cooperation from the Department of Highways and rights of way and easements?
Yeah, that does take a little bit of time to get those from highways. I think they've developed a formal system now that they're trying to help us with those. It's sometimes, depending on where they are, it might be, I think they're different, maybe in different areas, but, it's working out, we're getting them. I've not had to have any conversation with highways about it, but so it seems like they're getting there. It might take them a little while to get them, but getting there. And the projects, so the other thing that we do to help this, the projects that are going out to bid, that right now, that authorization to bid, they should have already specified guys. And what they have to, before we authorize them to bid, they either have to have them all, or they have to have a court date set when they're gonna get it done. And usually means they've already have highway, so it should be right there. So that's the step with that. By the time we give them authorization to bid, they should have it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Quick questions?
Marie, thank you very much for being here. So with first, I think some other folks discussed the over here, testing, 1, 2, there we go, that's nice. I think some folks had brought this up, but we have resources presently available if a small PSC is looking for planning dollars and that sort of thing. I mean, well, what challenges do you see to applying to for some of these grants?
Okay, so there's limited amount of design maybe that's available through some of the SRF programs or some of the other programs. We have some small amounts of money that we might be able to help, like we have the structure fund. WDA we did a design program a couple of years ago to help them. So there are some ways to help them that might not get a all funded, but I think most of the engineers, I can't speak for the engineers, but what I have found that a lot of them will go in and do the design work on their own. And hope that they'll get paid when the project goes to bid out and goes to construction. So you have that happening there. A lot of the accountants and lawyers will wait to get paid too. So a certain amount will wait to get paid when we can finally close. They've gotten the bids, and we call it closing. All the funding's there. They have the bids at the end. Project's covered with all their funds. They'll wait on that. So I don't know. We have that many that probably are not doing something because they can't give that funding. I really do think it's just been from politics.
Of course, we already don't have this at the top of your head. If I'm looking at this, it's 1.8 billion leverage. My question for you would be, do we have an idea of the total number of West Virginians that this impacted?
Yeah, we try to keep a little bit of maybe if they're so it depends on how you sometimes people think impact is somebody who didn't have water or sewer services now having it. But the impact are people that have bad water, sewer's not working, and that they're being impacted. The other preventing future problems, so that they can expand if you don't plan, if you can expand to the customers. I don't have that number. It would probably be a very, very hard number to really get. Unless we look at all the places we're funding and we see how many customers they have, I guess if you look at that, and then the jobs, somebody has to be doing all this work, right? I mean, contractors have to be. It's not just the contractors, it's the accountants, it's the lawyers, it's the project managers, it's administrators and people like that that are working to hiring people. So the impact is tremendous, I think, when you talk about jobs, and we also talk about the people it's helping.
And I think my final question for you, for now, your testimony is that you had roughly 5 projects that they've already said, hey, we're not going to be able to get. As we get near to that December timeframe, that they put these out bid, do you anticipate, and I'm not saying point fingers at any particular project, but do you anticipate there will likely be some more that are unable to meet those deadlines, and as a result, so that we don't hand money back to the federal government, that will have to be allocated?
Sure. We have projects now that we know they're bid banked. And that's how we know they're going to get bid out. Now, whether we know whether it's going to come in too much and we'll be able to do them or something else happens. We do have a couple of projects that we're watching it very closely. Yeah, we do. We have what we call our watch list. And there are a few projects on the watch list. But I must say, as of last week, some of them look like they're going to make it. But we do have a few that I think may have problems.
And if that were to occur, I was on that.
But if that were to occur, because of the tight time frame, right? We repurpose, I guess if we repurpose those dollars, what's the plan? Would that be to go towards our emergency funds that we're able to hand out? How might that work?
Okay, so here's what we will do. If the projects come into us right now, and they don't think they're gonna make it, we're gonna use some of that money to bid overruns. We are gonna bid over. I may not be able to cover all the bid overruns, but if we have a project that we can't use the money for bid overruns, then I can substitute out money from other state funding. So, for instance, if the infrastructure fund put $1 million grant to a project, and so I suddenly have $1 million I have to get rid of, I can take them out. So it's sort of accounting, it's sort of a mathematical thing that we're doing, and that's what.
But you are confident that at the conclusion of this, we will not hand a dime back to the federal government that we've handed you.
Best of my ability, that's what I'm saying, I'm going to, you know, that we will have all 427 under contract by December 31st of this year. Hopefully by December 15th, because after that, we'll just start to get people around the close.
Well, Ms. Prezioso, on behalf of the committee, that's all I have to final statement.
It's incredibly encouraging to see $427 million leverage all the way to $1.8 trillion. That seemed like a similar slope was mentioned, a difficult time to be able to climb this mountain, but done a great job. Thank you.
Director, while I wait on the next question, just to clarify, there's handed out a list of 167 projects in front of us. I might have missed this number. Do you have a number that weren't funded that was submitted to you all?
I do not. I don't have that information. So most of the projects that submitted projects to us, we tried to fund them, but there were some projects we couldn't fund. I do not have that.
Ballpark is it's 10 projects, 100 projects? Just curious.
Yeah.
I'm more curious to know how many municipalities and counties and PSDs and economic development projects are sitting there, what they believe are waiting for.
I don't really have that number, but it's up there. I would say that if, you know, I could probably, if we have some economic development, we have some projects in certain areas that we could probably get rid of $50 million between 2 projects if we wanted to, you know, that's going to bring economic development and so forth. We have other projects. I just don't have the number, but it would probably be a good enough high number to have. But, we'll certainly be looking at those projects too.
Any questions? No other questions?
Solid.
Big members, one last chance. Madam Director, thanks for coming to Parkersburg and spending your afternoon with us. The next item on our agenda has been pushed. Is there any further business? I have not seen any of my colleagues. walk in to make a quorum. Any member have any business? Any Wood County representatives want to tell us something? Good. All right. Good, Cheryl, look for a motion.
First, written thank to anybody from Parksburg and anybody that's here. Thank you all for being incredible hosts. We look forward to getting to explore your city over the next couple of days. And I want to say that at the outset, thank you all for having us here. It's a real pleasure to get here in the woods as we've been getting others chapters out. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will be.
Motion is adjourned. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. We're adjourned.